this video, I'm going to show how to create a SAS dataset from an Excel file. Many times your data will come to you in an Excel format or in some other format, and we need to first convert those data files into a SAS dataset. SAS will only use SAS dataset for modeling. So let me open the project that we were working on. So I can either use open project or I can press recent, click on recent projects. Okay, so this is the project that we were working on. So open that. Okay. So now click that plus sign, and here is the diagram that we were working on. So double click on getting started diagram. Okay, so this is what we did previously. So now suppose we want to convert an Excel file. So let me show you what the Excel file looks like. So here is the Boston housing data in Excel format. Okay, so this is what the file looks like. So we have data and description, and then a couple of sheets, that nothing there. Now, for the conversion to work, the data should be present in the very first sheet in the Excel file. So if you have this data somewhere else, like suppose if you have description first, okay, you have description first and then the data like that, then it won't work. So you have to move data like that as the first sheet. Okay. So I'm going to close this. Okay, so now under the sample tab, okay, if you hover, you can see what those links, those buttons are for. So the third one from the left, so that's your file import. So click, drag and drop. So now we have file import. Okay, and here is where we need to identify where the file that we want to import is available. So click this ellipsis. All right. So here is a list of possible file types that we can import. So click that and you will see the different file formats that we can import from. Okay, so there is Microsoft Excel, so those two file types. So if you have a Excel file that is not one of these two types, then you have to save them in this format for SAS to be able to bring it in. And you can also bring in text file, comma separated file, and the delimited files. But we're going to look at only Excel file, because whatever the other format your data is in, you can always convert to in Excel format and then bring it into SAS. Okay, so now you click browse. Yeah, I have saved it in the C drive. So remember, you have to have this folder in C drive, and you must put all your work, all the data, everything in this folder. So here is the Excel file. Okay, select that and open. Okay, so now you can preview to make sure that the correct data is what SAS is looking at. So preview, and then you see the data that we wanted is what is being previewed. So this is good. X out and click OK. Alright, so now let's look at some of the other options that are available here. Okay, and so file type is this, and local and everything. Okay, so here you can set the role for the data that we are importing to train, validate, or test, or score. So these are the file types or data roles that we already discussed in a previous video. And then we have transaction. Transaction is a particular type of data set. We will talk about transactions later on. So I'm going to leave it as train. Okay. Now we need to run this node for the data to be fetched. So I can run it now or I can run it later on. So let me go ahead and run it. Okay, we can look at the results, and you see there are 15 variables. They are all an input role. Okay, and how many observations, and where the file is, the imported file is stored. So here in this library, so we don't need to worry about that for now. And so here is a list of variables that was brought in. Okay, of course, the very first row in the Excel file should be field names. Okay, all right. So now we can do analysis right from here, because once the file is imported, it is in SAS format. But for you, but I think what is preferable is to save this imported data in SAS format, so it can then be used in other projects as well without having to import every time. And for that, you need to go to Utility, and the third button from the right is Save Data. So bring that in and connect. Now save data. So here are some of the options that you can set. So you can select which variables and so on, but this is what I want to look at. Okay, so the default is SAS file format. Okay, this is your SAS data set. So when SAS data set is selected, you can specify which library the SAS data set will be saved into. Okay, and directory is dimmed because you cannot save it to a directory. A SAS data set cannot be saved into a directory. It has to be saved into a library. So you click that and select the library where you want. So our library is MGT4270, which means that the library, remember, is just an arrow pointing to a directory or a file folder, which is, in our case, it is C MGT4270. That is folder name MGT4270 in C drive. Okay, so click OK. All right. Now, if you want, you can select a different file type. Suppose if you have a SAS data set that you want to save that into Excel format, then, so like for example, here is the SAS data set, and you want to export that data set into Excel to do something else or whatever. So then again, you'll use the save data. Now you'll change that file format to Excel, and when you select Excel, then this library is dimmed and you have directory. Then you can click this and then select the directory where you want to save the Excel file. Okay, but I'm going to put it back to SAS because we have an Excel file that we want to save in here. Okay, then we can give a file prefix with which we can identify the file in the folder. So I'm going to say Boston Housing. Okay, then now run. Okay, let's look at the results. So here is the library, that's the location. So here is the name of the file. So the prefix is Boston Housing that we typed in, and then SAS adds this term train, and then the file name, SAS7 file extension. So that's your SAS data set. So there are 506 observations and so on. So here is some more information here. So we have it. Let's look at the file folder. Okay. So now we have Boston Housing underscore train data set. Now you can go ahead and rename this if you want. We already have the file here, so we'll just leave it as it is. Okay, so once you have it as a SAS data set, and then you need future project, you can bring it in as a data source without having to import, and then you can do your work.